Welcome to Health and Wellness with Coach A.T. Moore. Today we have a special guest checking in all the way from North Carolina. How are you, Mr. King?
Like, I'm feeling fantastic.
That's
It's a
awesome.
beautiful start to the week. So I'm amazing. Hopefully you're the same.
Yes, I am. And you were just in my city a while ago. I think it was in November. You were in Austin.
Yes, I went for the Afrotech conference.
So what do you think about the city?
I didn't get a lot of chance to explore the city because
Mm-hmm.
we were just kind of around the conference. But what I saw was great. We had dinner at J Prime, so it was phenomenal. Uh,
Okay.
Definitely somewhere I'm gonna have to go back and explore more.
Yeah. You got to get down here for South by Southwest or some of the other concerts that we have. Let me, y'all know I don't bring anyone to the show unless they have like credentials and receipts and all that. So let me read Mr. Kyle King's receipts, and then we're going to jump into the real reason why we have him here. Now, he is a 7-time published author, Dad and Me. That's trademarked, creator. He's a fatherhood enthusiast. I've never heard that word before. I like that. He's a public speaker. He's a strategic planner, educational business and nonprofit consultant, leadership development. He is a runner. And most importantly, he is a father. So welcome to the show, Mr. King. Now, with all of that he has, there are two things that I really want to focus on today, and that is his role as a father. I've been following you for a while. I love your content on social media. I love the way your brain thinks. I think you are a really strategic thinker. But I've been noticing that there's kind of been a pivot or maybe a transition to speak more on parenting and being a father specifically. Is that me just kind of digging a little bit too deep, or is that an intentional pivot on
No,
your?
it's very intentional. So, my company, The Writer's Gang, we help executives and high-level entrepreneurs publish books and leverage their story to scale their companies.
Mhm.
And what I've seen as a part of my work and my company is that your story is your legacy, and it's one of the most important components to being able to live life in general. And so many of us, we hold our stories in and we don't have the opportunity of sharing them. And those testimonies that we keep locked within ourselves can unlock someone else's potential, someone else's problem, someone else's pain, or potentially provide solutions to someone else's problems. So in my work, one of my mentors used to always say, the thing that brings you the most discomfort is probably the very thing that God has called you to solve. And
Yeah.
with my work in education for years as an administrator in a charter school, speaking to students, mentoring different families, I've recognized that fathers need to do better. We need to step up as fathers. I'm a single father myself, preparing to get married, and different things in that nature. But through my experience raising a Black son in America, I've recognized that there's not a lot of resources out there to support us. There are not a lot of supportive groups. There are not a lot of communities where we come together and we cultivate relationships as well as provide each other counsel so that we could show up better for our children in the household. So I wanted to be able to create that. I had an amazing father. I was privileged of having an amazing father who's still alive today. And, I still see him as one of my greatest mentors. And it's something that's most important to me is being able to raise my son in not just a successful household or a privileged household, but a loving one. And one of the things that as men we don't understand is just because you are present, you can still be absent. And just because you're providing doesn't mean that you're providing what your family, wife, or child needs. So I wanted to be able to talk about these things more openly and share my story, because I have a new book coming out in June in regards to fatherhood and how we can collectively come together and strategies that we can share as parents so that we can be able to create more inclusive and intuitive relationships in the household.
This will be your 8th book, right?
Yeah, this is number 8. Yes.
We're definitely going to get to book number 8. Now, you said that you noticed, so as you were working with business owners, entrepreneurs, did you just kind of notice this void as you were, consulting and leading and developing leaders, that they were trying to balance this role as entrepreneur and parent, and you felt like this was something you can speak to?
I think so. I have always been the voice of counsel for a lot of my friends, women and men, in regards to navigating those relationships with their children, or as someone who's been a co-parent for a few years now, navigating the co-parenting space, because I believe that my relationship with my son's mother is an anomaly where, very good friends. My current relationship, the woman that I'm getting ready to marry, is great friends with her as well. So it's a dynamic that is very positive. And I would coach different people on, what are the things that I'm doing? How do you navigate these conversations? How do you teach your child emotional intelligence? So as someone who teaches how to unpack and write and develop and launch stories, Kyle, you should talk about your story on how you got your relationship to this point. So this took a lot of vulnerability and took me being really authentic, because a lot of my books are very, professionally focused books and strategy, self-help. So this was a completely different story that took me out of my comfort zone, but it was necessary to tell it.
Congratulations on your upcoming wedding. That's awesome. Thank you. As an entrepreneur and a father, how have you learned to do both? And what lessons can you share with our audience about things that they can do if they're trying to figure out, like, how do I pour into my business in addition to pouring into my family? It shouldn't be this or that. It can be this and that if done well.
Of course. I think so. The one thing that I had to learn in anything is the top word is boundaries. I read a book by Teray Roberts, and he said that, balance is created by doing three things. Number one is priorities. Number two is what can wait. And number three is, what can be delegated. And I use that in everything now, and I break up my day in buckets. So professional development, I always focus on how can I professionally or personally develop every single day. Number two is what am I doing for my family or household? So something has to be done for my family or household. Number three is revenue generating activity. How am I committing to driving revenue for my business? Number four is growth and administration. What am I doing from an SOP standpoint? Or, which is a standard operating procedure, whoever doesn't know who's watching this, or what can I be doing today to grow my business? Yeah. And then also the last thing is team and development. How am I checking on my people so that I can be able to either automate or delegate some of these tasks? So that's how I break up my day. Another thing is that I think we have looked at success in the eyes of society without defining what success looks like to you. Everybody's success is different. So for me, what success looks like is being a committed, devoted, and present father that's intentional in his child's life. What that means is that I take him to school every morning, I pick him up after school every day, and I do not meet with people after he gets out of school. So I now know when I drop him off at 7 a.m., I have until 7:30 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. to lock in and work, to focus on that revenue generating activity, build meetings, all of these different things. I don't take meetings on Mondays or Fridays every single week unless it's something that I am choosing to do, because I have the autonomy, but my schedule, my calendar is not open. So now that gives me from Tuesday to Thursday to really focus on high impactful work. Now, if you cut your time essentially in half and you only have that amount of time, now you only have to focus on the things that are priority, because everything cannot be done. A lot of times people focus on including more time. Now that sacrifices other things, your relationship, your children, your personal health or mental health, all of those different things. So I'm not that entrepreneur that doesn't go to the movies or doesn't watch Netflix or doesn't go to the gym or all of these different things. I was that person, and I was making a lot of money, but I was 60 pounds overweight. My relationship was unhealthy. The relationship with my son has always been great, but my business was failing, and I didn't understand the person that I was when I looked in the mirror. So in March 30th of early this year, when I went to the doctor and they said, look, if you keep doing this in the way that you're doing it, you're going to have a heart attack and die. It was that decision that I had to make different choices in my life. So from there, I had to slow down and reorganize who I was and what success looked like to me. And then I changed it. So any advice that I would give to somebody is first define what success actually looks like. Be willing to create a schedule that honors what you want to be successful, and say no and create boundaries that honor you. Now that helps you focus on the priorities and then choose what needs to wait and then how you can be able to delegate as well.
Yeah, I feel like we've read a lot of the same books because I've also read that book by Teray Balance. I absolutely loved it. And you mentioned Boundaries, which I love.
Oh,
Those books I've read by Dr. Henry McLeod. And then you also mentioned SOP, one of the terms that one of my favorite business minds, Donnie Wiggins, uses all the time. And I think SOP should also be incorporated in your home. It's not just a business, coming from education background as well. You have rules and you have procedures in your classroom. It's a way to do things. And we have to talk about, and I do want to talk about the running, because I want to know what, I think you just kind of hit on it. So we're going to put a pin in there about where you went after you made a decision after your doctor said that. I want to talk about your son, Carter. And I mean, look at the smile on his face. I just said his son's name and look at that smile. Love it. So tell us about your son, Carter. I think he is 7.
yes.
Okay.
He is my world. As you can see from the smile, he is everything that I would have wanted to be as a child. He's creative. He's very emotionally intuitive. He problem solves and strategically thinks so that he can be able to get his way. But he acts for the things that he wants. And what we're working on now is not just asking for the things that you want, but also when you don't get those things in that moment, not taking a no, because no's really just mean not right now or not yet, and asking for the reasons behind the no so that you can be educated and understand how to work through your emotions. He wants to build, he wants to create, he wants to use his hands, but he's also very inquisitive. He asks questions so that he can understand what's actually going on. He's a cook. He's the athlete, he's the cook, he's the creative, but he's also the speaker. So I catch him in the back, and he's, hey guys, it's Kyle King or it's Carter King, and then he has his, his phone out and he's making videos, and it gets me emotional even just thinking about it now. I have chills because he's sat here in this seat in my office and watched me over and over and over say, hey guys, it's Kyle King, and today I'm going to be talking about this. And that influence that I just thought I just had him sitting in here and I thought he wasn't paying attention, but we create the very things that our children are. So he's my world.
Ooh, I love sticky statements, and you just said something that I want y'all to write down when you're watching this, y'all. Sticky statements, anything someone says that kind of sparks or arrests something in your soul, write that down. Can you just repeat the last sentence that you said? We create.
Oh, we create the things or that our children are.
Yeah, I love that. My first introduction to your son Carter was when not he was just cooking. He had a full on chef attire. Like he was I don't know what the chief chef is called in a restaurant, but he had the hat, he had the all white. Everything. I was very impressive. Well, how did he fall in love with cooking? And this might not be something he does long term, but right now this is his area of interest.
Of course. So one of the things that my parents used to do growing up is that they would have me in the kitchen with them while they were cooking. And I would just watch. Or my dad, when he would make macaroni and cheese, he would let me cut the cheese and taste it. Or my mom, when she would bake, she would let me lick the spoon like all of us do as children. But Carter took a very different approach. And I think as a parent, I took a different approach as well. I wanted to teach him responsibility through doing something with me so that it's inclusive. I think it creates a relationship. So when I would be cooking, I would ask him, hey, Carter, what do you want to eat tonight? And we would go through, whether it's a magazine or a cookbook, or we would go on the phone and just look at different recipes, and he would point out something. And I was like, all right, we're going to cook that tonight. We're going to figure it out. So we would walk through the grocery store. I would show him what different materials and recipes, ingredients we would need to get. And then I taught him responsibility through these different things. It's about patience when you're cutting something. It's about waiting. It's about blending things together. It's about bringing the seasons together, everything. So then I wanted him to start doing it on his own, because as a part of a responsibility as a child, you got to learn how to cook. You got to learn how to clean and all these different things. And I wanted him to be able to be a part of creating something amazing. He already loved videos, but he loved to eat and he loved new meals. So let's infuse them together. So then he started cooking little things. And then I happened to be in Vegas, and we went to Hell's Kitchen by Chef Gordon. And I saw a few chef coats and I was like, yes, that's it. So when he came, when I got back in town, I was like, let's cook something tonight. And I think it was shrimp Alfredo, and he literally cooked the whole meal by himself. And that one post ended up going viral.
Yeah, it did.
Chef Gordon reached out, or someone from his team reached out, and they sent him different chef coats, and we've gotten pots and pans and
What?
yeah, and it's, and then from that moment, he was like, yeah, daddy, I want to cook again. I want to cook again. And now we're trying new things and new recipes. And I think a lot of times as parents, we cook the same things. We have a kind of like 10 items or 10 meals that we go to, but now we're testing the boundaries. So we cook a lot of different meals and meats and vegetables, and I want them to learn how to cook it all.
Wow. So did I miss something? And when I started off this conversation, our interview, I listed all of the things that you have done. Did I miss chef? Did I miss you being a chef there?
Yes, I say I work for him. I work for Carter. He's the head chef in the kitchen. And I think for me, I've always had a love for cooking. I think it's my escape. It's my getaway, having music after a tough day and just really being able to cook.
Yeah.
But doing it with him, I fall in love with it even more every single time I get to cook with him, and be able to coach him through these different things. I remember the first time that he was rushing in the kitchen and he touched the bottom of a hot pan, and he just turned 7. So he was 6 at the time. And as a father, you put your parent hat on really quickly and you're worried. And then he started crying, and he was like, Dad, you taught me to slow down in the kitchen. That's my bad. I'll slow down next time. And I appreciated that, because it was that moment where we're able to create a moment in the kitchen where I'm still supporting you, I'm still loving you, I'm still there, but we're learning through this experience and through this painful moment, how that transcends into everything in life. Yeah. And that's what we have to do as parents as well.
Yeah. I was watching an interview that you have on your Instagram. Y'all got to check out his Instagram and his podcast. But I was watching an interview you did, and you said boldly, I'm a great father. What makes you a great father? I mean, I think if you're watching this interview, if you've made it this far, you can kind of give your own examples. But I want to know what else do you think makes you a good father besides what you've already stated so far? You will have to check out part 2 of our conversation to hear his answer on what makes him a good father. This is Health and Wellness with Coach A.T. Moore. Thanks for watching.